Well, we've done the Crockett Cup, we've had all the championships, but now we get to crown some new ones. Yes, this week on NWA Powerr, which was pretty vacant. But I do have my co-host, my NWA compadre, Miss Fiona Lockwood again. Hello again.
Hello, how are you?
We're good. I'm very good, thanks. We just finished with EC3. You'll be able to see that on Tuesday.
It's a
Very
good
much
chat. Definitely check it out.
definitely get it, Joyce. And if your name is Kerry Morton, you definitely want to check it.
Definitely check it out if your name's Kenny Moore.
You want to check it out. If you're Kerry Morton, there's a few choice words from the Overman. Well, I like with Brighton. Well, from the Overman to you, Kerry, on there. Apologies, my light's flickering on and off. But anyway, let's start with before we do that, we've mentioned this on the EC3 pod as well, but this will be out before the EC3 podcast. And those of you that have seen Joe Garley's tweet on Monday, Saranalo, a good friend of the show, and a great guy, Saranalo, unfortunately has had some financial difficulties due to the fact he was asked to leave his house that he's been renting for 14 years with the family and his wife and whatever. And there was a GoFundMe set up. That link will be at the bottom of this video. If you can make any form of donation to Sal, that would be, I'm sure he'll be really happy. Although the target has already been smashed, which is great news, but there is still time for you to donate. So please do. I have permission from the team to post that link. So if you can, please do donate. Anyway, on to more high things. I'm going to sneeze, I think. So just be careful if I do. I'm trying to not. No, it's
See the
going.
nose going.
Oh, excuse me.
Bless you.
Here it is. First time I ever sneezed on the podcast. It's only been 2 years. Right. Great cold open. This was about Max and they were
And
in.
Ella,
Yeah,
I like this one. I really like this
that
one.
was really good, wasn't it? I really enjoyed that. I mean, they're always great, but there's just some that are standouts, and that one for me really stood out. No Billy on commentary this week. It
Mhm.
was our good friend Danny Deals and Joe Garley. Now, it starts off Jax Dane and Baron von Storm against the Southern Six, but not Kerry. Well, not yet.
No.
They actually,
AT and Silas Mason this time.
it was indeed. Did you? And I know it's going to come into it. He'll play a bit more into it, but Baron was like wearing the robe for ages
He
in that,
was.
wasn't he? He was, and it was really, really interesting. And that plays into a bit more later when he eventually took it off. Jax put it on the commentary desk, and
I
there
was
was
like, Danny, don't touch it.
yeah, don't touch it. Like, okay, well, don't know why. More to that in a minute. Um, this was interesting because this match, I've never, and you kind of touched on this when we spoke briefly off air. Billy took a bit of a beating in this, didn't he?
He did. He did. We saw a side of Thrillbilly that I haven't really witnessed before, where he almost seemed a little bit intimidated, a little bit unsure of his opponent. He's usually
Mm.
quite bullish in the ring and quite, come on, bring it on. But like, he genuinely seemed to be quite concerned about the claw. He went to
Yeah.
lock hands with Baron and was like, no, not that hand. I know what that hand does. Swap hands and made Baron swap from his right to his left. So that was interesting. That's definitely Baron appears to the whole thing with Baron appears to maybe be playing on Silas's mind a little bit.
It certainly seemed that way. He was definitely fit because there was an interview after 7-6, we'll get into that, but he mentioned the danger of the Iron Claw because he'd been in the film. So he'd
Yeah,
actually done the
yeah.
homework about the film. As the match ran on, I mean, there was a bit, I think Jack's like one died, Alex Taylor at one point onto the floor. Jax is a specimen. He is an absolute
He's
specimen.
a tank, isn't he?
Brilliant. Do you know, and we've had him on the show. Those of you that haven't seen it, go check. He's such softly spoken for someone that's so you wouldn't picture the voice doesn't match the
It
you know,
doesn't, does it? It's funny.
it doesn't at all. Then at one point he had Trap City locked in, and we're thinking at this point it is game over, and then the Baron and Jax will pick up the victory, and then Kerry Morton decides to get
Of
involved.
course he does.
What does Kerry?
Wants a bit of the action. Obviously, Kerry comes out, distracts Scott Wheeler,
Yes,
as
but
you do.
as you do, however, unfortunately for Kerry, things turned south pretty quickly for Kerry Moore, the Southern Six, because Baron von Storm locked in the iron, he's a version of the Iron Claw and would not let that hold go for the
Mm-mm.
life of him, would he?
Silas and AT with Kerry up on their arms up in the air to try and release the pressure, and Baron von Storm was loving every minute of it.
Certainly was. And in fact, the only time that that was taken, that he released the hold, was when the robe got put back on the Baron. And then actually, at one point, he was covering his face.
Yeah.
So, and then they finally managed to let Kerry Morton go. The only thing I would say about this that I didn't quite understand was the referee threw the match out.
So there wasn't a disqualification, but I'm guessing he threw it out and made it a no contest because Kerry had got involved when he shouldn't have.
It's a DQ, though, surely.
Well, you would think though, but then they were wondering if it would be a DQ because Baron von Storm wouldn't let go of the claw. I'm not really sure. I think that's one that maybe potentially we should get Scott on and ask him.
On that note, Scott, yes, if you are free and you would like to come on board, you're more than welcome. We are interviewing the head of NWA 76, hence why the Overman was recently on. But yes, Scott, you can certainly come on and tell us your rationale for throwing that match out and not DQing. Maybe because Kerry didn't actually hit anyone, he was the one getting punishment. I don't know. But nevertheless, the Southern Six were not happy about this.
I'm laughing. This section with Kyle at the podium was just hilarious.
Yeah,
And if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
well, I'm going to sort of give you a little bit of through it here. That well, for one, they wasn't happy about the clause.
Oh, they were furious. They were absolutely raging. It was hilarious.
And then Alex dropped a line: "Is his nose that he's been punched in is where his money goes."
No comment, Alex. No comment.
I mean, I don't
Read
know.
into that whatever you will.
Yeah, or watch Samhain from last year.
But my favorite spot was when Silas Mason has Kerry on his shoulders, facing the camera, talking to the camera, with Kerry over his shoulder. So Kerry's head's that way and his bum's facing the camera. And he's like, look at his face, look at his face. And the camera's just on Kerry's butt. I popped for that. I thought that was glorious.
Unless he meant that he talks out of his ass. I don't know. I'm not trying to get any Southern Six in any issue with each other. At all. But yeah, there seems to be. They're not happy. Whether that leads to a match later on down the line, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Then we got part two of Only Slams.
Was it part two?
Yes. The debut was last week.
Was it the same? I thought it was the same advert.
No, that was different.
Was it?
Well, even if it wasn't, it's not Carson Drake.
No, it's not. I realized that last night.
It's definitely not him. Yeah, that was when I watched it. I realized it. I don't know if it was the same, or I can't quite remember if it was the same as the week before, but it come back on. Let's just say that. Still none the wiser to who it is. I've no clue. If you've got no clue, I've got no clue. So I guess you don't really care. Okay. Fair. Fair comment.
Sorry.
Sorry, NWA, she doesn't really care about that much. But I do care about the next bit. Joe Kazana was up next. He's obviously the owner of NWA JCP, the territory. He was not with the Country Gentleman, but he did say he's got an issue with the Miserably Faithful. If that's wise, I don't know. And then he said that he's bringing the Stew Crew to NWA. Now, because I'm thinking that the territory tapings are coming up. I mean, nothing was announced for the next week on NWA, so we don't know.
I'm wondering if it's the Stew Crew versus the Miserably Faithful at those tapings then.
Maybe that's exactly what's going to hit at. I mean, the Stew Crew was impressive in the Crockett Cup.
Yep.
They were in there. The Miserably Faithful would be depending on who. I suppose Alex Misery is a fair.
Alex Misery, Sour and Arrow, Judias,
Yeah.
Max.
Well, we want to be the Stew Crew if it's Max. That's for sure. But it obviously it's leading to a match, which we will. I imagine it'd be an upcoming match on Powerr. I said they didn't give us any indication as to what matches are on next week at all. So we don't know if any matches are on next week. Well, we know it's on next week, but we just don't know what the matches are next week. Well, you led it quite nicely here as well. Max the Impaler was next. 6:05 limit, women's TV Championship against Ella Envy. I'm not quite sure if Ella pulled a short straw, if she pissed off Billy Corgan, sorry, or what, but she got the match against Max. She was with Miss Star as
It
ever.
was, yeah.
Um,
Who still appears to have a really, really injured neck. I don't think I've ever known anyone to wear a neck brace for so long in my life.
I don't know.
I'd quite like to see her wrestle, to be honest with you.
So would I. I think maybe she needs another medical checkup done to see if she can be physically cleared to compete, hopefully soon. The crowd were chanting Max a lot in this. They clearly didn't like Ella, which is down to them. Although kind of like a heel, I thought Max was a heel, but I suppose you take your pick in those type of matches, don't
Yeah.
you? Um, yeah, I was kind of a little bit. You kind of we spoke about this before off air that it was a lot of stalling in this one
It took 3.5 minutes
from a
for
six
there
oh
to
five
be
in the
any contact.
Ella was just screaming all over the
Half the
place.
match gone.
Mm,
Although, kudos to Ella, those facial expressions were glorious. Her facial expressions were just outstanding. They made me giggle. She's nailed that fear and shock and awe and horror. It was brilliant. But yeah, half the match with no actual contact and Ella
yeah,
sliding out the ring and asking for a timeout
yeah.
didn't really work for me. I think that's for a championship match, that's pretty disappointing for me personally.
I think with a championship match with a limit, when there's a time limit, and obviously Ella doesn't win the match if it's a time limit draw, Max retains anyway. So it's
And she did
kind of
try to get a little bit of a fence in, to be fair to
didn't
her.
work. It didn't really work though, did it?
But the lariats destroyed her.
Oh, she was getting absolutely mangled by her. There was headbutts, there was lariats, there was loads of stuff. And just when it looked like Max was going to win the match, the time limit expired. Now, time limit expired doesn't necessarily mean Max loses the title. So obviously, Max keeps the title. Ella's just isn't defeated in this. Now, one wonders whether that could mean a rematch is on the cards.
I don't know. I really, really don't know.
But I don't know.
Would Ella want to go back in the ring with Max?
Well, she didn't really do much in the ring this time with Max, did she?
This is true, but I can't imagine Max would let her do very much in the ring anyway.
No, very true. The only thing I would ask is I've not seen the men's title, television title being defended. I know Max has both.
Hmm.
It's been a while.
I suppose they have a whole host of options available to them.
Because the last
So,
one was Mims, if I'm right. Max had the rematch with Mims.
what if Max has to do double duty at 76 and defend both of them?
Well, at this rate, Max may have to. I mean, unless something happens in the month or so, like you mentioned, we've got a month or so before seven. It's about a month to the day near enough, isn't
Yeah,
it? Close enough, yeah, to 76. Although it'll be probably Christmas before we see it. Because of obviously by the time it airs, we've got other tapings to get through before we get to that. But yeah, a month's time is when NWA 76 is recorded from the 2300 arena. Get your tickets out to that if you already haven't done. It's still available, so make sure you do. We did then see another promo from Mims,
yeah,
and
I think it was just a cut down version of last week between Mims and G's.
yeah,
I'm still really delighted to see G's back though, so it's good.
yes,
And I'm
equally.
still intrigued at that partnership. I think that'll bring good things Mim's way.
Yes, I certainly do. I certainly think it will work very, very well. Looking forward to. They're obviously hyping up another match with Zion. The last time we saw Zion, he did lose to Tom Latimer, first time he'd ever been pinned in a wrestling match or submitted in a wrestling match. So Zion losing two in a row, I'm not sure if that happens. I don't know, but he does say that obviously G's knows Austin Idol, and Austin Idol, he said, was the reason why he lost
Yep,
that match. So to have an equalizer out there in G's could put him into good stead, I suppose, going forward for that particular match as and when it happens. A couple of hours ago, actually, just before we signed new contracts given to the Page sisters, and Daisy Kill has now been announced
okay.
as an exclusive NWA contract. So more contracts. We did wonder how long it would be, or how many they had already signed. So there's another couple more there that have been announced. But obviously, all good news for NWA in this sense.
Absolutely.
And congratulations to all of them ones as well. We look forward to seeing you all on NWA Powerr again very, very soon. Now, US, this main event time. It's the US Tag Team Championships.
The vacant US Tag Team Championship.
Yeah, that's why it was called Pretty Vacant. Oh, well, I suppose Ella was facing one champion and she was part of Pretty Empowered, hence the Pretty, and Vacant because the NWA Tag Team Championships was vacated. This was the Fixers, Jay Bradley and Gursky again against Daisy Kill and Talos with Vampiro.
Mm.
I'll Vampiro at ringside. I will never get bored of seeing
Mm-mm.
that at all at ringside. I
Well,
love.
never trust him ringside either,
Oh
mind
no, no, I wouldn't. No, I would never
Never
trust
trust
him.
anyone that's ringside, to be fair.
No, definitely not. A lot of this was Daisy Kill before the break, taking a hell of a lot of punishment in there.
The Fixers definitely kicked off with the advantage on this one. Absolutely.
I mean, and both of those guys, when we said about Wrecking Ball, I mean, Jay Bradley.
And Jay, well, talking to Jay, really weird to see him without any facial hair. Like, I looked at one point and went, who's that? And I was like, oh my God, it's Jay Bradley. So I'm so
You
used to
know,
seeing him with a little bit of a beard on him. So,
I did love it. Every time he hit a move, he just go Fixers. That did make me chuckle throughout a lot of this match. What I did find interesting was when Talos got in there and he started hitting a few moves, Daisy Kill wanted to tag. Every time he was like, tag me in. And then
yeah.
he was getting beaten up again. And it just didn't hit. Um, but coming near the end of this, Jay Bradley took a nasty one outside.
An absolute belter into the ring post.
Yeah, it knocked him clean out. And it was quite funny. We'll get into why that's a bit funnier at the end. But yeah, he knocked him clean out. Then there was a huge choke slam from Talos on him. I mean, he got some.
That's a long way to get slammed if you're in, like, from there, given the size of Talos.
Well, the thing is, though, if you look at the size of Legursky as well, I mean, and he's up that
He's a
high.
big lad.
He's 360. And
Yeah.
Talos picked him up quite comfortably for that choke slam. And that's a big weight to fall, that drop, that take that fall as well. And they did hit the choke slam, and Daisy killed Talos and Vampiro, shall we say, are now the NWA US Tag Team Champions. It was the second time, right, as Tag Team Champions.
That's right. Yeah.
So they go on to win that match. They did have an interview at the end, and they've got an interview with Carl, and Carl is crapping himself because Vampiro is looking at him funny. He's got Talos over his head. He's got Daisy Kill kind of trying to tell something. They're all standing in front of Jay Bradley, who is unconscious,
Decked it on the floor.
just literally on the floor, uh, practically not moving. But
Just not caring. They beat him. What does it matter? He can stay there.
I did like it though when Vampiro was just sort of over Carl Davis, and Carl Davis is looking behind him and he just sees Vampiros, and he's just literally
Kyle gets a hard time, bless him. He really does.
he has a
I miss
different
the days of Tyrus's hand on his head.
yeah. See, we missed those days as well. Forgot, but wraps up NW. I mean, NWA Powerr was quite action packed. A lot going on. We said we don't know what's happening next week. There's no matches announced.
There's
I don't think
nothing
there's any
about.
matches announced last week either.
No,
There wasn't, was there? No. But anyway, before we start to go, you had a weekend of camping.
I had a weekend of camping and wrestling. It was hectic, but a whole lot of fun. And I have another weekend of wrestling coming up now as well. So, Pro Wrestling Scotland are in New Mains on Friday night. Ringsideworld.co.uk for tickets for that. I think front row's sold out, and there's only a handful of tickets left. Saturday, Hooked on Wrestling. It's SummerSlam night for everybody. So, Hooked on Wrestling have our SummerSlam watch parties dotted all over the UK. We're in London and Manchester and Liverpool and Leeds, and I don't know if we're in Cardiff, but we are in Glasgow. So I'll be hosting the Hooked On SummerSlam watch party at Walkabout in Glasgow on Saturday night. hookedonwrestling.com or .co.uk for tickets, but you can get your tickets there for that. Sunday. I think I have a day off on Sunday.
You're going to need it because the wrestling finishes at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
I don't think I'll stay up and watch it, to be honest with you.
You're hosting the event.
Yeah, but once the event start, once the
Ah,
PLEs start, once the PLEs start, then my work is done, basically.
the work here is
They
done.
don't want me on a microphone shouting over the top of them when they're trying to watch stuff and listen to the commentary. So once the actual event starts, I'm done. My work is finished.
There you go. I will thank Progress for the hospitality this past weekend. Although I do have one slight complaint, guys. A 9 match card and 5.5 hours of wrestling. I watch 13 hours of wrestling a week, which, I'm mad for that, doing that anyway. But I do get times when I can choose to watch it. And 5.5 hours, and it was a 9 match card. It probably went over. And yeah, it was just a little bit too long for me. Maybe I'm getting old. I don't know. And that's what it is. I mean, Dan Housen was there. I didn't get put
Oh,
on.
that would have been cool.
Oh, he was great. I mean, don't get me wrong. The show was great. The only squash match they had was the world title match, which was just so you went through 5 hours 5 hours 20 minutes to get to the world title match, which lasted 10 at a push. And the world champion, who was Lycos, got decimated by Luke Jacobs, literally decimated.
Okay.
And I kind of would have rather a couple of matches prior be squash matches, just because, with the length of time. But it was a great show. Listen, it was brilliant, brilliant show. Devil on My Shoulder. They're back all in on the day after All In. I won't be going. I mean, I'm going to be shattered after. I said I'm getting old. I can't do these 2 day things. I don't know how you manage it, but let
I
alone
struggle.
you struggle. You have energy
I was
drinks.
about to say drugs and alcohol, but that would be a lie.
Yes, definitely. Like you have Monster, I think it is, right?
Yeah, cans
Yeah.
of Monster, white Monster or pink Monster Rosa. So
I'm not allowed those, so I have to make do. So yeah, I won't be going to the one which is Wrestling Never Sleeps, which is the day after All In. I just don't think I can manage that. They do have an event in September, which if you just give me a second, I will tell you what it is because I am on the tags of all the reels from Progress Wrestling, so I will know. So, but just a slight aside, Ignite have just announced another match for their September show, which will pit a Luna against Sapphire Reed. So there's another big match. Go to event 96 Eventbrite, tap in Ignite Wrestle Pro and get your tickets. Hit the Progress one on the 22nd of September is History is Written by the Victors. That's the show. Don't know who's been announced yet. I'm assuming Luke Jacobs will be there as his world champion. Just keep an eye out on Progress Wrestling, and they will tell you what is going on that one. Hopefully, it won't run 5.5 hours. Please.
talking of progress, just to get a little plug in, Demand Progress Plus, obviously you can get all their events on there. But there are other wrestling companies on Demand Progress Plus, including W3L, who I work for in Scotland. So all our premium events are on Demand Progress Plus. I think it's $4.99 for the add-on for W3L. But you can also get TNT Extreme Wrestling and Defy Wrestling on Demand Progress Plus as well. So there you go. Just a little plug. So you get to see me. Yay.
Yeah, to see more fee on progress on the demand, right? So there you go. That's it. If you needed any more of a reason to get it, that is the reason. So yes, we'll go to that. We've got Blacksmith Apparel coming on the show this well to
Their
talk about.
stuff's amazing. I
Uh,
love their shirts. They've
yeah,
got some really, really cool things. Go and check them out.
go and
Such
check them
good
out.
stuff.
Go and check them out, and obviously check the interview out when it drops in
Yeah,
a couple
that
of weeks.
too.
I will be going. I will be wearing my blacksmith apparel. Just got to choose which one to wear on that one. You can check me out on the Ringside Renaissance podcast as well. RR Wrestling. Hang on, I'm just trying to the RR Wrestling Pod on X. They're going to drop the SummerSlam prediction show. They would have already dropped the SummerSlam prediction show that I was on. So go and check that out. The guys are doing a great job with. Hang on, Andrew Combat Jones and Pretty Deadly Jesse. There you go. Those are the two guys. Great guys. Go and check that out as well. Some interviews are in the pipe. More interviews are in the pipeline as well, but I can't announce them yet. But they are in the pipeline. And if anyone in the NWA wants to come on the show, you know where we are. And NWA 76 is not far away. So please
Mm-mm.
come on down. We will need to get the referee on, Scott, to
Get Scott on and find out what that was all about
what
last
was
night.
that one about? Yeah, indeed. But Fee, it's been marvelous as ever talking some
Indeed,
NWA
indeed.
with you, and I think we need to do this all again next week.
Sounds like a plan.
She'll be there. I'll be there. Make sure you're there next week and watch us on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. But until then, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and good night.